Hello everyone, this video is for my critical thinking class as we move into week 6 of the course. We are winding down, not too long to go now. This week we are going to be looking at inductive arguments or inductive reasoning. Our work for the week includes the inductive argument discussion. This discussion is going to run from Wednesday the 10th, which is today, through Sunday the 14th. And like all discussions, your first posts need to be in by Friday, the Friday of the week, which in this case is Friday the 12th. And you also need to make at least a few replies to your classmates in order to receive full credit. This is one of my favorite arguments or favorite discussions because it poses a couple of questions that seem very obvious and straightforward, but I think are a little bit more complicated than they appear to be at first glance. So to help you with this week, I wanted to give a brief sort of lecture on what we mean by inductive arguments or inductive reasoning. So inductive arguments are arguments that move from specific premises towards a general, broader conclusion, meaning that you look at one or two or three specific instances of something occurring or specific facts or specific claims, and then from them try to make an overall statement about a larger subject. So there are some interesting things that come with this kind of reasoning. The most interesting or the primary issue with inductive reasoning is that inductive arguments can only ever be based on a scale of probability. They cannot be factual. They are not arguments of truth or falsehood. They are arguments that are either strong or weak. And this is where things get a little interesting and complicated about these. So for example, in the discussion, there is the question or the argument is set forth that reads, "Every day of my life, the sun has risen. Tomorrow is another day, therefore the sun will rise." We read that, we hear that argument, and it's a little bit, we want it to be fact. We think it's fact. Of course, the sun's going to rise tomorrow. But when we say every day of my life the sun has risen in the morning and tomorrow morning is another day, therefore the sun will probably rise, we have this pesky word probably in there. And that complicates things. That suggests that this isn't a 100% factual argument. And truthfully, it isn't a 100% factual argument. And that's because nothing about the past, nothing about something occurring in the past necessitates that it will occur in the future. The reason we can make a claim like tomorrow the sun will rise is because it has done so many times in the past that we can understand that the probability of it occurring tomorrow is extremely, extremely high. But we wouldn't accept that same logic for things that hadn't occurred that many times in the past. So if I told you I have made 9 free throws in a row, will you bet $1 million I'll make the 10th? You probably won't, because you recognize that nothing about the fact that I've made 9 free throws in a row necessitates that I'm going to make the 10th. I could totally miss. I'm not that good at shooting free throws. So this is the deal with inductive reasoning, is that we use words like probably or likely or most of the time, and we sort of assume that the conclusions of them are going to happen, that the conclusions of them can be trusted, but they are only ever probable. They are only ever strong conclusions or weak conclusions. They can't be true or false. The thing that makes inductive reasoning interesting is that we use inductive reasoning almost subconsciously to make these kind of snap decisions in life all day long. When I drove to work this morning, I stopped at several red lights, and when the light turned green, I drove through, because a green light means that it is safe to proceed, right? Well, that's not a fact. That's just a strong probability. If it was a fact, then no one would ever get into a car accident from someone else running a red light. And yet that happens every day. I woke up this morning and planned my entire day based on the fact that I was going to take the same 3 or 4 roads to get to work. I would have told you last night that tomorrow morning I am going to drive down these 3 roads to get to school today. And that sounds like a fact. That sounds like a true argument, a true claim. But it's not. It's an inductive claim. It is a highly probable claim. And yet we've all had those days where the road you want to take is closed, or your car doesn't start, or you wake up sick, or any number of possible things happen that make that argument that seems to be a factual true argument actually just an argument of probability. So with this discussion, you are given these 2 questions that seem really obvious and seem like they are true statements, but they actually aren't true statements, and they aren't as obvious as they seem. So what I want you to do with this discussion, what I invite you to do, is play with it. Think about ways that these arguments can be complicated, ways that these arguments aren't necessarily as strong as they first seem, or if they are strong, which they likely are, how can they still be complicated? What makes it so that they're not true? And then also think about how many inductive arguments you make in your own life that you really don't put any thought into, and how that probability, that chance factor, could change everything in a moment. I hope you enjoyed this discussion. If you have any questions about inductive reasoning, please just let me know and I'll be happy to help you. Remember, again, your first posts need to be in by Friday, and you need to make at least a few replies to your classmates to receive full credit. Hope you guys have a great week.